Joining us now, Democratic Senator from Virginia, Mark Warner. He's the vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Senator, it's really good to have you, especially today. Let's talk about Poland first. What can you tell us about what happened and the significance of it?
What I can tell you is, remember, Donald Trump said, Putin would never have gone into Ukraine if he was president. Well, Donald Trump's president, and now we've got Putin going into Poland. I mean, this is the same Donald Trump that rolled out the red carpet for Putin a few weeks ago. I mean, he's been played by Putin throughout this time. He appears to be more and more people, friend and foe alike, are basically ignoring the president of the United States or thumbing their nose at him. So you have Putin on one hand doing this with Poland, which brings us much closer to the kind of international conflict that we've all been concerned about. You've got Bibi Netanyahu thumbing his nose at Trump and showing unequivocally that he doesn't give a damn about the hostages. He has no interest in getting a ceasefire and is going to do whatever he wants to whoever he wants. And as your correspondent pointed out, we asked Qatar to allow Hamas to have an office there a decade ago so we could do back channel and have negotiations. And then to top this all off, we saw just last week President Xi, with his axis of chaos, demonstrate enhanced Chinese military capability with that big parade. In the meantime, the state of our allies are enormously concerned because, I can tell you from the intel standpoint, they are worried about the undermining of our intelligence community's independence almost on a daily basis. If this doesn't scare the hell out of you, then you're not appreciating how close we are to literally chaos across the world. And frankly, Donald Trump may be standing alone because he's burned so many of our allies in 8 short months.
I'm sorry, what you just said is really stunning. You should be scared, is what you're saying. To anybody watching this, to the American public, you should be scared today?
If you don't appreciate how dangerous Donald Trump's activities are with basically giving a green light to Putin, if you don't understand that one of our closest allies is basically thumbing his nose at Trump with this strike in Qatar against the very negotiators that were considering a new ceasefire proposal, or the boasting of Chinese military strength. And what I hear that worries me so much is concern from our allies because Donald Trump has clearly put our allies in harm's way. I mean, remember, he was going to kick Canada out of the Five Eyes. And you've got this undermining almost a daily basis of the independence of our intelligence community as intelligence professionals get fired if they don't bend the knee. And my fear is what happens when America has corrupted intelligence. We end up in a war like Iraq.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you about that lawsuit against the FBI and the accusation that people were fired knowingly just because they were involved in investigations into Donald Trump, because they were assigned those investigations. But I do want to stick on Poland for one more beat. The consensus seems to be that this is Vladimir Putin testing the waters, seeing how far he can go in, trying to push back NATO in the effort for him to get farther and farther into Ukraine. Do you have any indication that he might want to take it a step farther, that he might actually arm a drone and do something with it in an allied country? Was this the first step to seeing how the allies might react, how Donald Trump might react?
I don't know what Putin's next step will be. But, there was enormous consensus on both sides of the aisle that Vladimir Putin would never stop just with Ukraine. If he's successful there, whether it's the Baltic states that used to be part of the Soviet Union or Poland that used to be under the direct influence of the Soviet Union, he's going to continue to try to reconstitute the old Soviet Union. He's been clear about that. And the fact that President Trump has downplayed the importance of our alliances and frankly coddled Putin in ways that he thought simply his personal relationship with Putin was going to end all these wars, I think we are in a more dangerous position today than we've been in a long time.
Do you know what we would do, what would happen next if Vladimir Putin did make a move in Poland or any other allied nation?
That would attack the very foundation of NATO. Article 5 of NATO, and Poland didn't call on that today, but Article 5 of NATO, the peace treaty that frankly has kept war from breaking out in Europe for the last 75 years, states very clearly, if one nation is attacked that's part of NATO, then it is viewed as an attack upon all of the now, I believe, 30-plus nations that are in NATO. So the question would be, will Donald Trump actually honor our commitments? Will he stand up? Or will he do what I expect him to do is he'll give Vladimir Putin another, well, we're going to do something in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to make a decision in the next 2 weeks, which is the default Trump answer to any hard problem. And I think what we're now seeing is friend and foe alike around the world know that Trump can get pushed around. And again, it's frankly just remarkable to me that this is happening in Poland. It's remarkable to me that, Bibi Netanyahu's government in Israel is so willing to be disdainful of its biggest ally, America, that they take this action in a third country. And we continue to see, China make the appeal to the rest of the world. Hey, look how unstable and chaotic America is. Frankly, China is trying to present itself as the more stable entity on the world stage. These factors are all intertwined, and they concern me greatly. And I know a lot of my Republican colleagues are privately concerned about all this, but will they ever raise their voice? And the question on that one is still out.
Yeah, the privately concerned reports we've heard now for 10 years.
Right.
If they are concerned, I would like to hear it publicly, because you seem pretty concerned, sir. Let me ask you a follow-up question about Israel. If Israel is flouting this alliance with the United States, not giving us a heads up, as the president indicated, should we be continuing to support Israel? What is your position on that?
My belief, and I've been a staunch supporter of Israel, but I worry that the Bibi Netanyahu government is not, frankly, in many ways acting in Israel's best long-term interest. It appears that Mr. Netanyahu is more interested in staying out of the Israeli justice system and staying prime minister rather than trying to bring back the hostages, or for that matter, try to get to a ceasefire by taking out the very negotiators who were reviewing a ceasefire deal, by taking them out in a third country. It's absolutely clear that at least his government doesn't want to have a ceasefire. I hope America, and I frankly hope the Israeli people will see this what it is. I mean, those hostages ought to be released. We ought to put an end to the massive amount of bloodshed that's taking place in Gaza. And instead, if the Trump administration lets this go by without any response, then the amount of carnage that will take place when Israel invades Gaza City will be unprecedented.
There's a significant portion of the Israeli public that is not happy about this, or Netanyahu's leadership and his decisions on the war. They've been marching, hundreds of thousands of them, intermittently recently as well. Have you seen any intelligence to indicate that Israel was able to kill any Hamas leadership? Hamas says no. Do you have an idea of what happened?
I have not been briefed yet. I will get that later, but I'm also not going to share. I'm kind of old-fashioned that if it's something that's classified information, I don't talk about it on Signal and I don't share it with the media. But I'll hopefully have more information on that shortly.
Another question for you about Venezuela. The strike on the ship, the small boat with 11 people on board that the administration had said was carrying drugs to the United States. The New York Times has reporting from their sourcing inside the Pentagon that says that boat was turning around, that it had clearly gotten wind or notice that something was following them, and they were turning around. If that boat was turning around, what does that mean for the justification of this boat being an imminent threat, which is what the administration has been using to justify this strike?
Well, again, I think it robs that justification. And listen, the Maduro regime in Venezuela, bad guys. Drugs flowing into America, absolutely, we have to do all we can to stop that. But the challenge right now is there are international rules of law around stopping ships on the high seas. You're supposed to give a warning. You're supposed to stop it. None of that was taking place. So will we ever know? Were there actually drugs on this boat? Were these individuals on the boat really part of this Trindalagua gang or not? You've destroyed all the evidence. I mean, it would seem to me that if you want to make this case, you ought to at least first try to stop and seize the contents, because that would build a stronger case about further steps. But instead, by taking out this craft, and my understanding there's going to be, because it's in the open water, there's not going to be any effort to even discover who was on and what were the contents. I don't think we'll know. And my concern is, I don't want our sailors, who are clearly acting on the order of the president, to be somehow getting legal jeopardy themselves, because there are rules of engagement that countries abide by, and unless it is hard to make the attempt that this boat was literally a lethal threat to any American forces in the region.
I'm out of time, so I'm hoping to get these two more questions in.
Yes.
One of them is, have you seen intelligence on the Venezuelan boat? The administration has said that they've heard conversations about drugs. They have tapes of those conversations. Have you heard those tapes? Have you seen any evidence that those tapes exist?
I have not. Our staffs were briefed, but we were not. I would characterize it as the briefing was unsatisfactory.